Back with Texas Congressman Ron Paul. Senator Gregg said that the United States is going bankrupt and that Obama is going to bankrupt the United States of America. Do you believe that, Congressman?
Not quite, because I think it's already bankrupt. It's insolvent. We couldn't pay our bills. The official declaration hasn't been done yet, but we couldn't pay our bills. Everything we pretend that we owe, there's no cash flow to pay for all the bills. If we sold every acre of land in this country, I don't even think we could pay our bills. So yes, the bankruptcy of America is here, and I think this financial crisis should lend itself to our benefit in that people will become outraged and maybe demand some changes here in Washington.
When you say we can't pay our bills, I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, people, you see, it doesn't affect people that they realize now that the new number is $116,000 for every family of three. $116,000 every American family now owes. People just think, well, we're not going to have to pay that. It'll just roll over into something else.
Right. No, if you can't pay your bills, you have to go out and borrow it or work harder, and everybody understands that. When a government can't pay their bills, they don't have the money. The tax revenues are going down, the bills are going up, and we don't slow up on the spending. We quadruple the amount of spending. But they have a printing press, and they print the money. People still have a trust in the dollar, so they pay the bills that way, which is deceitful and wrong. Well, and this is why I think, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that the thing is, I mean, if you saw last week, when they started monetizing our debt, which America means taking an IOU from one pocket, giving that IOU to the Treasury prints $1 trillion, then hands it to the other hand and says, oh my gosh, look at the money. Oh, can we borrow that? I mean, it's crazy talk. Gold went up like 78 bucks. That was people freaking out. But what they will say is the rest of the world is in worse shape than our dollar is. And so we're fine. We're going to be fine. Everybody else is going to collapse before we do.
Well, that isn't the case, but this is an opportunity for us because for a long time I've been saying that we need more transparency of the Federal Reserve because they were creating the bubble. We could have prevented this, but they didn't listen. The crisis has come, but now the people are much more alert and they're saying, yes, that makes a lot of sense. We do need to know what the Fed is doing, and that's why they support my position on transparency.
What is it we can do? What is it that actually people in Washington fear? Because I don't think they fear anything. They don't fear a scandal. They don't fear anything.
They fear truth. If the truth comes out, they can't handle that.
What can the average person do to let the people in Congress know, hey, you work for me?
Everybody's job is different. It might be running for Congress, supporting candidates, calling their congressman, doing whatever. In my own little way, for these many decades, it's been dealing with the monetary system because I thought it was the big issue. And I'm working right now on a precise piece of legislation, H.R. 1207, which would demand that the Fed open up their books. They have not had to do that. They're protected by the law. So that is something I can do. Others could help me if we get to Congress. The people want that. I would.
H.R. 1207. Congressman, thank you very much.
It's already bankrupt. The official declaration hasn't been done yet, but we couldn't pay our bills. Everything we pretend that we owe, there's no cash flow to pay for all the bills. If we sold every acre of land in this country, I don't even think we could pay our bills. So yes, the bankruptcy of America is here and demands some changes here in Washington. And I'm working right now on a precise piece of legislation, H.R. 1207, which would demand that the Fed open up their books. They have not had to do that. They're protected by the law. Demand some changes here in Washington. When you demand some changes here in Washington.
1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. Floor of the House, where 3 members of Congress were on the floor. At that time, they only needed a majority of votes to pass it. So in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was passed. 20 years later, 1933, under Roosevelt, the United States was declared bankrupt. And in 1933, the Federal Reserve private bank says, okay, USA, what are you going to pledge as collateral on the debt you owe me? What happened by 1936? Does anybody know? We instituted Social Security system And you and I and our children and our children's children were pledged as collateral on the debt of our government to the Federal Reserve. And that's where we're at today. It took 20 years to make this country bankrupt, and since then, our government has operated under emergency powers of our government. It is not the president that makes the decision in this country. It's the Secretary of Treasury who turns around and is put in there by the Federal Reserve to manage the bankruptcy. We've been in bankruptcy ever since. So to print $700 billion and to give it away, how do they get away with it? The manager of the bankruptcy is told by the Federal Reserve this is the way to go. That's where we're at today.